Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. I'm Bill McMinn. Steve Arsulic here with me. And Steve, I've been reading this book on the 7 deadly sins, and I said it in another podcast. If you start feeling good about yourself, just go read that book, and you probably won't feel good about yourself forever, because he hits on everything. Like, the one he was hitting on was overeating, actually, like gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins. So I was thinking, well, yeah, I'm not really a big overeater, but if you look at how much stuff we have in this society, it's killer. I've been to yard sales that make you sick, because you see how much stuff these people have, and you're like, somebody went and bought all this stuff. Like, how many toys does one kid need? So I think there's an overage in a lot of different things that we do, and drinking is not an exception. And the one part that he really focuses in on is over drinking. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about from that perspective. Now, I have some stats here, and I'll get your input on that. 2019, so this isn't that far back, a couple years ago, 25.8% of all people 18 and older, almost 30% of the men in this age group, 22% of the women, reported that they engaged in binge drinking in the past month. This 1 in every 4 people said in the last month they had been binge drinking 18 years old and older. Does that sound like a lot? I mean, it does to me.
Well, from my own experience, no, I don't think so. I don't have any reason to doubt it.
Oh, I don't doubt it at all. I think it should be going on. That's what I think. So they reported that 6.3%, more men than women have the problem, actually, reported they engaged in heavy alcohol use in the past month. 88,000 people die from alcohol-related deaths each year in the United States. In 2018, 10,500 alcohol-impaired driving fatalities. 29% of all traffic fatalities are associated, somehow connected with alcohol use. So you look at it, not a lot of people really say much about it. Like, you don't hear a ton about it. You don't hear our politicians saying, hey, what are we going to do about these 88,000 people? They'll talk all about COVID deaths and say, oh, this month or whatever alone is same as Vietnam War. We have more people dying in the Vietnam War in 1 year of alcohol-related diseases, and you hardly hear people about it.
Yeah, and I think, because it's just one of those socially acceptable norms. I think about, we're inundated with it. It doesn't matter what sporting event's going on, whether it's Budweiser or somebody sponsoring the event. And,
right.
Everything is glorified, and it just looks good, and it looks cool. I mean, we just went through spring break. You can see all the things that people do down spring break down in Florida. I mean, it's just part of culture. It's just so much something that's socially acceptable. And that's not just kids. We're picking on kids. I mean, let's get to real adults. I mean, how many people, just the wineries, they flourish. The bars, they flourish. Most successful restaurants are only successful if they also have a liquor license. So why is that? Those types of things, I think it's because it's just so part of people ingrained in their lives. We've got to the point where, just to relieve stress, I need a drink. It's our way of just coping, or just a stress relief, or all these types of things. And I get gluttony. I mean, you started talking about gluttony. How do we put? I mean, jelly beans. I think about, I got to watch jelly beans. I can't have one. I got to have the whole bag. When I drank, I couldn't just have one. I had to wait. I never knew when I was going to stop. And it's like, I'm an all-in kind of guy, so I get all this.
That's one of the reasons I stayed away from drinking is because it's like me and hot peppers. I don't like just hot peppers. Yeah. I like hot peppers. I don't want just like mild hot wings. I want hot. I know I'd be the same with alcohol. I wouldn't want just the tame stuff, give me the hard stuff, burned all the way down. I mean, that's the stuff I'd probably be after myself. But 65 million Americans report binge drinking within a month's time. That's more than 40% of total of all alcohol users. Now, one thing I was impressed with, it did seem like not everybody drank. It seemed like when you look at the statistics of drinking at all, it's not like 99% of the country is drinking. It seemed like maybe half or more were drinking, actually drinkers. And there's a lot of people, I was kind of impressed. I'm like, well, there really are a lot of people who don't drink. So, I mean, I think that's good. And I encourage people, don't get into it if it's something you're not comfortable with, where you feel, because it's like the socially cool thing to do. or as you said, you're going to self-medicate yourself because you have woes and you're doing it just to take care of that because, there's a saying, drown your sorrows. So you're going to drown your sorrows in, beer or wine or hard liquor.
I mean, I think the reality is no matter what the actual numbers are, I mean, if anybody is being totally honest with themselves, we have seen the devastations of alcoholism in our society. We have seen it in the devastations of marriages. We have seen it in devastations of family lives. Nobody has even, I almost find it hard to believe that somebody's family or life or somewhere hasn't been touched by some alcohol problem out there, or that even people who may be casual social drinkers haven't experienced some bad experiences because of alcohol, whether it be getting that DUI or even in being cautious and doing it, but yet you still will jump in that vehicle and take a risk driving,
or you make a fool of yourself,
or you make a fool of yourself publicly, or all these types. I mean, I think the vast stretches of alcohol has affected so many people. I would say probably the way more vast majority. I mean, I think the people who probably have never been touched by alcohol is probably so small it'd be difficult to see.
Yeah, I think my life's been touched by alcohol. I just don't touch alcohol. And one of the reasons I don't touch alcohol is because my life has been. I mean, my brother was an alcoholic. It seemed
I guess that's my point.
I had
somewhere somebody has seen and suffered the consequences of alcoholism in their family.
Right. I mean, the thing that I used to not like, and I don't want to get into, it's a public podcast and it can go anywhere. So I'm not going to run any particular family member, under a bus.
No.
However, I did have a family member who every time I was around them had to be drinking. And as you grow up and you think about these things, you start to think, well, what was wrong with me that you couldn't handle me without alcohol? Like that you couldn't handle having a conversation. And I've often also thought this, if you have to drink to have fun around me, or you have friends where the only way you can have fun with your friends is to drink, you need new friends. Because if you don't like my company enough that you can't not drink and we just can't enjoy each other to enjoy each other, then I would say that's where, to me, alcohol becomes an issue, because now you can't just enjoy that sunset. You can't enjoy that beauty that God has put there, or the friends that God has in your life, without alcohol being part of it. I'm like, man, that's kind of sad to me, because that alcohol isn't nearly as significant as is the beauty that's around you, the friendships that you have, the conversations you can have, and being in your full wits. To me, is far more significant than and
that's part of the weirdness of it. I think is that it isn't even anything personal against you. It's like it's just so part of our ingrained lifestyles. It's so part of, if you are in that culture at all, or if you're in that habit of doing it. I mean, in my own life, and it's not that I was always drunk all the time. I mean, but in my struggles with alcohol, and one of the things that was really challenging when I did make this decision was asking God, help me just walk away from this stuff.
Right.
Is you come to realize that it didn't matter what I was doing. If you're going to go bowling, there's going to be rounds going to be pot. If you went golfing, who's got the cooler? If you went fishing, if a family activity, it just didn't matter what you were going to do. People will plan their weekends around which club are they going to go to.
Right.
And you're not going to go there and have just soda water.
Right.
Where we're going to go, what wine are we going to go? Which band are we going to go see? What are we going to, we build our life. It's such an ingrained part of life that you don't even see how much control it has over you.
Right.
And that's what I think is the big, and so it has something to do with person that I got to have this drink to be around you. No, the sickness has come to where we have been deceived by it. The seductiveness of it, the sexiness of going out and just being cool. And I think the big thing now I see out there in social media, everybody's talking about all these different types of whiskeys that they have, and they just they post these cool pictures of these glasses with a couple ice cubes and this aged bourbon barrels. And they got a cigar too or something like it. It's like the cool thing, you know. And it's like you're with it, and everybody else is kind of like a little.
Yeah, you're not as cool. So you got to be too cool for school.
Exactly.
I look at this kind of stuff, and my attitude's always been the same. It's sad to me that you can't have fun without it, because I look at life as such a beautiful thing. I look at life and my friends and the opportunities I have, man, I don't need it. I'd rather be on a natural high. And so I do think that you have to rethink it, because to me, the only person that drunkenness looks good to are other people who are drunk. When you're sober and you're around that, it's silly looking. It's you feel like it turns you into an instant babysitter because now you're okay. I got to watch out because they're not 100% there with me right now, and you tend to not really trust what's coming out of their mouths and not really sure. If they're totally cognizant of what they're saying, so you take everything with a grain of salt. And that's not the way I want to have my conversations. Like, to be honest with you, like that's not the way I really want to talk to somebody. I want to talk to somebody who's sober, somebody who's rational, and somebody we can have a good time for a good time's sake, not having to enhance it. I remember one time I saw somebody that had posts and everything was around them was beautiful. Spouse beautiful, weather's beautiful, the scenery around them is beautiful, and boom, I got to have alcohol. And I thought to myself, no, that's where I disagree. Because the weather's beautiful, because the scenery is beautiful, because your spouse is beautiful. No, you don't need it, actually. Because having it's only dulling you. It's only actually dulling your senses to the keen beauty that's right there. But here's one thing they said, Steve, and I thought this was interesting. I think it's something really worth thinking about. High-risk drinking is defined as this: more than 3 drinks in a day. Is high for your health-wise. For your health, high-risk drinking is more than 3 in a day, and 7 in a week for women would be high risk. So high risk defined as more than 3 drinks in a day or 7 a week. Now that's for women, is on the rise among women, about 58%, according to a 2017 study compared to the habits from 2000 to 2002 and 2012 to 2013. More and more people are drinking. And so I look at that and say more than 3 in a day. There's probably plenty of people that have more than 3 in a day and more than 7 in a week. And I think that people don't realize that, listen, this probably is killing brain cells you're not getting back. Brain cells do not rejuvenate themselves. You kill them, they're not coming back. How many brain cells do you want to kill? These are the kind of questions I would ask. Now, I'm not saying in moderation that it's going to hurt you, but you started getting more than that. You started getting dependent on it. Like, I can't deal with life. I can't cope with life unless I've got some alcohol. I think that's definitely not a positive direction.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think some of these things is, we're always in denial about what it's doing, or whether or not you're fat because you eat too much sugar and you overeat or whatever, or whether we have literature even on Celebrate Recovery. We have some people that come and say, hey, here are some things you can look at and will help you determine, are you showing some signs of alcoholism?
Right.
And these are, to me, are like some of these signs that people are in just total denial about.
Like, what are they? What would they be?
Well, it would be this. How much do you drink? How often do you do it? Have you ever drank to a blackout? Have you ever, all these types of things that you may, but I've only done that once or back when, but you're continuing to drink. These are all like things that, kind of come and present things to people. Am I going to be honest with myself? How is this really affecting my life? Because I think most people that are really bent towards trouble, I don't see where, to me, I don't even see where alcohol ever improved my life in one day.
Right.
In fact, it did quite the opposite.
Brilliant point. I think that is a great point. This is the lot, like, I'm a very 1 + 1 = 2 kind of thinker. I tend to like to think through things, wonder about things. And I've often wondered, why would I want to do this if I don't in fact think it's going to improve my life and it can hurt? Because you see all these people you're saying on social media putting up whiskey shots. Okay. So they're going to put up these different things. This is so cool. Or they put up a glass of wine. It's so cool. When was the last time you saw someone put, hey, I got a Joe's iced tea. I got Snapple came out with a new flavor. I really like Pure Leaf iced tea. And they get all excited about it. They don't.
No,
they don't. And there's a reason for that, Steve. There's a reason for it. There's more than taste involved here. This is not about having a taste. This is about having a buzz.
Well, that's
what it's
the whole
about.
idea. Let's be totally honest. Right. I mean, I've tried every form of alcohol under the sun, and alcohol isn't something that a kid picks up and says, boy, that's delicious.
Right.
You have to force yourself to acquire this taste. And in fact, why do you think mixed drinks are so popular? Because it hides a nasty taste of the alcohol. Right. If I can make it more fruity and more, kind of hide it with some lemonade, or if I can hide it with some pop, why?
Right.
Because it's almost repulsive to the body.
Right.
And it's like, but we're going to do it anyway.
Right. Because it's going to somehow make you feel good because you can't feel good enough on your own. And this is the question I've always had. Now, listen, I was 12 years old. There's this guy, and I looked up to him. He's working at my dad's gas station. So I'm 12. He's probably, let's say, 18 to 21 somewhere. And he's on this thing, and he would say stuff like, I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I'm on a natural high, man. I'm on a natural high. And I'd hear him talk about this stuff and think, well, that's how I want to be. I just want to enjoy life for what it is. Not have to get myself into a stupor to actually enjoy life, because at this point I'm not enjoying life anymore. I'm probably more making a clown of myself. And we have seen the devastating results of it, where people are under the influence. And I like how it says in Ephesians 5:18, don't get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit, because being drunk on wine leads to debauchery, man. It leads to stupid decisions. It leads to bad calls. It leads to DUIs. It leads to health problems. There's a problem. And I'm not saying every Christian or individual has to decide on their own whether they want to consume alcohol or they don't. And I think that we should leave people alone when it comes to it. But drunkenness is clearly wrong.
Drunkenness.
There is no doubt about it. If you're getting drunk and you are starting to be not yourself because you are under the influence of alcohol, it is clearly influencing you to make poor decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've all seen it.
I think about just peer pressure out there. I think about what Peter writes in 1 Peter. He says, they think it's strange that you don't jump into the same flood of dissipation that they are in. In other words, that's you don't jump into this drunkenness, that you don't jump into this debauchery. They think it's strange that you don't do that. And the world looks at you kind of funny like that. If you don't go out, or if you don't have the beer, or you're not just come and have a glass or have a shot or have it. And people will think that if the Christian even try, or I shouldn't just say Christian. I'm not implying everybody that drinks has a problem or anything. I don't want to do any of that. But at the same time, I go, man, it's just weird how, the influence from the outside. And I don't know.
I know, but these are like the heroes for some people. Like Isaiah 5:22, woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drinks. And you were talking about having to mix drinks and make them fruity or whatever, and this drink, and we made this special drink. And woe to those people who are champions of that. We would look at them as that's the champion, the person who can make the tastiest drink and all that. He's like, that's a whoa, man. This is Isaiah the prophet. He's like, dude, that's a whoa.
I love James Bond, right? What is it? Get him his martini, but shaken, not stirred, right? So it's like all these types of things, all these little, we've built into the culture that these are the cool things to do, or and if anybody has ever had a gin, I used to like gin, put a little. I'm just saying, but really, you're making yourself drink that stuff. Right. And it's to get a piece, and like any type of sin or vice, it wants more and more of your life. Overeating, laziness, anything, it wants more and more of you. You start getting into inertia. I've been starting to force myself to do more push-ups because I'm coming out of the winter and I'm clearly not used to doing physical things. Clearly. And I'm like, my body does not want to do it. Like, because why? Because that inertia is taking more and more of a hold of me, and I'm trying to break out of it. I think drinking takes more and more a hold of people's lives, just like any other type of thing like that. And at some point, you might want to look at your life and say, I'm a little bit too dependent. Now, this is true of social media. And we'll do another podcast on that. It's true of social media and a lot of things. Some of these things are eating into us more than they should. And unfortunately, alcohol is one of those things, and sometimes drugs too, is that it removes your natural inhibitions.
Right.
So it starts to make you do things that in your normal mind, which is why I think God defines it as sin, is because, hey, man, when you've affected your sobriety, when you have taken down your natural inhibitions, you have altered your state of being. And I think it's what God finds it as sin, because you've become something I didn't make you.
Right.
And you have altered your state of mind. You have altered your state of being. You're doing things you wouldn't naturally do. You would be embarrassed.
Right.
To let some of your friends or even your kids see what you were doing.
Right. Well, when you drink so much, like there was a story years ago on a cruise ship, this couple gets married, they were drinking so much, she went to bed with somebody else. And I'm like, and that's what happens. And he ended up dead. So who knows what happened to him, whether he came in, he didn't somehow he got pitched out the window. So no one ever could prove what exactly happened to the dude. But to me, you're putting yourself at risk. You see some of the things where a young lady gets killed down in Florida. It's risky behavior. And you have to look at it and realize, listen, this is risky behavior. I love the Proverbs passage 23, 29 through 35. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaints? Who has needless bruises? Who has bloodshot eyes? Those who linger over wine, who go to the sample bowls of mixed wine, Do not gaze at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it goes down smoothly. In the end, it bites like a snake, poisons like a viper. Your eyes will see strange sights. Your mind will imagine confusing things. You'll be like one sleeping on the high seas, lying on top of the rigging. They hit me, you will say, but I'm not hurt. They beat me, but I don't feel it. When will I wake up so I can find another drink? I've seen this exact thing. Guy at the neighbor's house rolls his four-wheelers. He's bleeding. His shirt's all tore up. I don't even feel it. And I'm thinking to myself,
today,
you
right
will
now.
Tomorrow. You will tomorrow. I had someone with a kayak last year helping a buddy of mine, and that person to me had been, there are a lot of beer cans came out of that kayak, and I'm like, they're going to feel that tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, they're not feeling it right now because they're dulled to pain because of the act of drinking. And it's just silliness to me. It's like, trust me, when I go out in that lake, it's good enough. And that beauty is good enough. I don't need anything else. I think God has given us plenty of joy right here on this planet.
Well, that's why, like I said, I like that when Wisdom's here to talk about, some of the deception that happens, it goes down smooth, but man, it bites like a snake. You know what I mean? And I think about the toilet bowl confessions. People in the past have hugged those toilet bowls, puking, feeling like crap. God, never again. And then next week, they're right back in the same spot. Because where can I get that drink? And, Wisdom just mocks the attitude of the drunkard, you know what I mean? Because it's like, man, you don't even see how far your nonsense has taken your thinking, and how much it has deceived you, and it is biting you, It is poisoning you. I think it's just the sheer money. I think of the money I've blown on alcohol. I'd like to have some of that back today.
Yeah, well,
can I get it back?
I think too, Steve. I think that we accept certain behaviors as normal because we've always seen it, and we just accept that. Well, that's just how it is. Like college people getting drunk and treating the women like they're objects. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right. I never did think it was right. I still don't think it's right. Our society looks at it as right. Our society looks at if a young lady, you take a young lady out, you should be able to sleep with her and use her body for your own satisfaction. Wrong. That's wrong. That's clearly wrong. But because we've conditioned our young ladies to think this way, we've conditioned our society, this is how it is. Everyone just goes along with it like a bunch of sheep. And by the way, we know we're full of sheep because look at COVID itself, and it tells you how sheep-like we actually are. But when it comes to alcohol, I think it is another sheep-type thing where, hey, I think it's well worth challenging your thinking on this. It's well worth challenging yourself. And I'm not saying that you have to abstain 100%, but I'm saying it shouldn't be. And I have abstained. I mean, I have made that choice because we have a ministry to alcoholics because of the things I've seen in my family and how many alcoholics there are in the family tree. Yeah, I have stayed away from it for my own choices because I just don't want it to be something that dominates my life. And I know how all in I am. I know what my personality, every one of you around me knows how I am about things. And I don't want that to be one of the things I'm all about, So
believe me, my mouth has been watering with the black jelly beans around here this Easter season. And dude, I've been trying to refrain.
You ought to see the liquors on my desk right now.
Dude, black I'm telling you. I think about like the instant gratification of that, or you think it's like the alcohol. It's all those things. I mean, again, it's just a matter of saying, hey, I think about even smoking because I smoked as well for a long time, and I just one of the things I just couldn't believe how much it all owned me.
Right.
I think the one thing that was a dawning revelation to me was how much all these things owned me.
Right.
To where I was really truly a slave to it.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? It was good when I finally put those cigarettes, and I didn't have to worry about in the summertime when I got my shorts on and a t-shirt. I don't got to worry about crushing that pack of cigarettes, or where's my lighter, or I got to worry about grabbing who's got the cooler, or I don't have to worry about all that stupid stuff anymore because I'm free.
Right.
And to me, that is life.
Right. No, I agree. I think it's a good thing that you did get away from it and you had to get away from it and you don't miss it. And just like other people I talked to a guy who used to be heavy duty in the alcohol, and I asked him about how it was for him, especially because he's associated where he works. There's a bar there. He said, dude, I don't miss it. He goes, I thought I would. I don't miss it. I don't miss it one bit. And I think this is the experience that I've had with people who break away from it. They really find they don't miss it. But anyway, we appreciate you tuning in. We hope that it's been helpful. Praying for you. You all have a great and a blessed week.